Hi, friends. This is Wendy Harrop, and welcome to the Say Yes to Yourself podcast. On the Say Yes to Yourself podcast, you'll hear stories from women just like us who are adding the practice of saying yes in their daily lives in big and small ways, and as a result, are experiencing the truth that everybody wins when you say yes to yourself. Saying yes to yourself is a graceful unfolding, an intentional becoming of the very best version of you. It is my hope that in these conversations, we are able to find our truth and be inspired and empowered to live our very best lives. I'm so excited to go on this journey with you, and I look forward to finding a bit of our own story in each other's. Hello, friend. Welcome back to the podcast. I hope you are having an amazing week. It is probably, I don't know, I want to say my favorite time of the year, but as I say that, I thought of 13 other times that are my favorite time of the year. Let's say that this is one of the most celebrated and anticipated times of year for me at the Phineas Wright House specifically. Just this morning, I was in the peony field harvesting more than an armload of these gorgeous stems, and the birds were singing, and we had quite a bit of rain last week, and so the creek is running, so there was a bubbling brook and bird song, and my arms are overloaded with peonies, and I thought, I bet people think this is what my life is like, and they're right, because I'm living it right now. This is such a dream, and I want to pinch myself to assure myself that this is really happening. But I also want to acknowledge that I have created the life that I desire. And I'm so delighted to be present and aware enough to realize it while it's happening. And I know that you are doing that too. And if you have had a momentary bout with amnesia and you have forgotten that you also have created the dreamy existence you have, or you have the agency to create the dreamy experience that you desire, I just want you to know that I see you and I am cheering you on. And if you are wanting some support around how exactly to do that, or just more encouragement to keep going, I lovingly and enthusiastically invite you to consider joining the Say Yes Sisterhood. It's exactly what we're doing. Weekly, we gather together for a call, and we have during the week, we are checking in a private chat room that we are able to, that sounded so old. We have a WhatsApp group, some private chat room, like it's 2002. Anyway, we have this great ongoing dialogue. It's just so yummy, and I'm so grateful for it, and don't want to forget to invite you in to join us. Okay, speaking of yummy dialogue, today's guest, I love her so much. I loved this conversation. In fact, I have thought about this conversation and how it made me feel so many times in the weeks between having it and sharing it with you. I know you know that I love this podcast, but today's guest is one of the many reasons why this is something that I just want more and more of. So today we have Laura Ahern. She is a medium, an intuitive, and a source channeler. It is her mission to help people reconnect with their true energy and unlock their highest potential. Her spiritual journey was catalyzed by the loss of her husband to a terminal brain tumor, which taught her the profound power of setting boundaries, not just for survival, but for thriving. Saying yes to what truly mattered while honing her own energy became a transformative practice that allowed her to stay grounded and find deep meaning during their time together. Through her work as the energy linguist, she helps individuals decode the subtle energy patterns in their lives and understand how energy imbalances can manifest as physical and emotional stress. She teaches clients how to honor their boundaries, trust their intuition, and align with their purpose, transforming their life experiences into opportunities for healing and growth. In her book, The True Calling, she guides others to face their personal challenges and pain, free themselves from limiting patterns, and step into a life of alignment, joy, and limitless potential. She shares how setting boundaries from a place of self love can profoundly shift your energy and bring clarity, joy, and fulfillment into your life. It is with great joy that I share this beautiful conversation with Laura Ahern. Meet Laura. I have already decided that you're a favorite. I am
Yay!
so excited to have this conversation. Thank you for being here.
I'm so honored. I'm really excited. I've been waiting for this.
Right? It's so fun. We have plans, and sometimes they work out just the way we think they should, and sometimes they work out the way they're supposed to.
Yeah.
Sometimes those are the same, and sometimes they're not. This is our third attempt at
Yes.
connecting,
Yeah.
and it just feels like distance made our hearts grow fonder.
It did for me for sure. And I am so excited to be here with you today.
It's so delightful. I am obsessed with my own life, with this amazing opportunity that this podcast affords to make new friends without leaving my house. I am fully dressed, like in actual clothes too. So it's not like I'm just having a big pajama party over here, but it's just a gift and this beautiful reminder that I get to let it be easy.
Yeah,
Because
you
I
do.
do a lot of fun and fabulous things, and they're all delightful and joy giving and life infusing. And there's some physical labor to some of them. I own a historic bed and breakfast on a small flower farm. So I'm no stranger to labor. And I lead these great trips, and there's planning and travel and all of those things that are all good. But this, I can't believe I'm at work right now and
Yeah.
I get to talk and connect with beautiful women like you, but also with our listeners.
Yeah.
It's just a love fest.
It is. It's that deep connection. I love that you say obsessed with your life. You're obsessed with your own life because we all really have the potential to live that way. And you described so many different layers, but that's what creates the balance for you. And this here is the ripple effect, right? Because it is between us in a way, but also really touching those who are meant to align with the messages we're sharing. And so it really is magic being worked from your own home.
Right? It's so true. And just the picture of what it looks like when you just allow something to
Yeah.
happen and you don't have resistance around it. You would think that inviting women to join me in Paris would be easier than having a podcast, but we are recording. This is our 200th episode.
Yay.
Hooray! Yay, us. Thank you for being here. And I don't have 200 people going to Paris with me. Like, it's so fascinating. All of this work that I'm doing, this spiritual work and this personal development, and what I'm understanding about universal law and how we ask and it is given. And our
Yes.
only job is to allow it in. And I believe that, but I don't always make it easy to allow in. But
Yeah.
this whole beautiful reality is reminding me that it's safe to let it be easy
Oh, yeah.
and it's expansive to let it be easy.
Yeah. Well, and you are having to say yes to that. And those yeses aren't always easy because they typically mean knowing we deserve something, setting
Right.
boundaries, meaning we have to say no to some things to say yes to other things. And so it is easy as a decision. It is as easy as a decision. But those decisions aren't always easy because of the way we've been kind of taught or programmed to believe about ourselves and what's possible for ourselves. And so, but life can be, you can be in that flow while still being, like you said, very actively engaged with it, willing to plan some of it, and then also accept, being the acceptance when it doesn't go according to our plans. So it really is a beautiful kind of balanced, unpolarized way we can live and find a lot of peace in that if we so choose.
Yes. And it is freedom is a decision away,
It is
right?
so great.
How are you saying yes to yourself in this season? We've explored my
Oh,
yes. Thank
oh my
you.
God. This season in particular, what really drives me? It's so funny because I think of all of the yeses, big yeses a decade ago that got me out of survival and living somebody else's life into really seeking and then eventually attaining what I truly desire, right? Those yeses in the beginning were harder. They
Yeah.
required boundaries, they were different. And it meant seeking something that a lot of people had judgments about, right? That weren't
Mm,
part of us about. And so it's so incredible to see how the pattern of practicing yeses and saying yes to ourselves, they do have seasons. Like you said, what is
yeah.
yes in this season? And this in particular, what is driving my soul right now is the desire to help people who feel lost in their lives,
Mm,
who truly know deep down that there's more meaning to life, that there should be something more to set themselves free and start to acquire exactly what they came here to this planet to do. And so, what it looks like for me with my own yes means I've actually had to make so many significant changes in my business. So, going from supporting people just one on one and having massive transformations, I've been very blessed that I actually have
right.
clients across the globe.
Amazing.
I have been able to help them claim their lives. And then I also was very, very aware that only working with one person at a time greatly tethered my ability to reach the masses who really, really need this kind of insight and support.
Sure.
And what's really beautiful is that no matter how different our stories are, our narratives, what I've discovered through my innate gifts of being able to see people's energies and these patterns that we are faced with in our life, that we actually all have similar energetic patterns and similar
Mm,
things that have us stuck. And so my big yes to me in this season has actually been to create an incredible group program, multi courses, leading people on this incredible journey. And the reason that yes isn't just for them, it is for me, is because it means sustainability. It means avoiding burnout and having the greater impact. And so
right.
it's a win win win. And it's a huge yes, but it takes a ton of courage, which, if you're familiar, which I know you are because of all the
Yep.
things you do, courage is not a feel good thing. It's a very uncomfortable thing. We all say
Right.
we want courage, but courage means feeling terrified and still doing the thing that's calling you. And so
That's
that
right.
is my yes season right now.
Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful and expansive. And I love that your yes, like you said, is a yes for you, but also a yes for your clients and these beautiful women or groups of people that are together. And not only are they getting the impact of you in your up level, but they have each other.
They do. It's incredible. It does. It
Oh,
amplifies it. And you know what's beautiful? As soon as you just said the yes to me and the yes to clients, I saw that ripple effect, right? I saw this imagery because when we're actually aligned with what drives us, with what that unique thing that our soul is passionate about, that is what happens just kind
Yeah.
of organically, is that
Yes.
we have that domino effect to impact other people's lives, and then their lives impact those of others as well. And so sharing in our joy, claiming our yeses, being willing to fill our cup first and love ourselves first really does allow that to just be a natural, beautiful side effect of loving
Yes. Oh my gosh, it's so good. I interviewed a woman a couple of weeks ago, Jennifer Fable. She's a linguist.
Yeah.
Is that what you call a word nerd?
Oh, yes,
She's yes,
yes.
and she wrote this beautiful book about boundaries, how to set
Mm,
boundaries and not be a dick.
yeah,
So she's hilarious.
I love
Um,
it.
and she talked about the root word that it's selfish is,
Mm,
it's about self ish. So
yes,
just like something is gray ish. And so yes, there is this decision and this focus on taking care of ourselves,
yeah,
but it doesn't shut out everybody else and it
yeah,
doesn't shut down the systems that we're integral parts of. It actually fuels us and prepares us to have greater impact, to
yeah,
be in a contribution that is regenerative
yes. It
because it's
enhances. Yes,
yes, and
yes,
it's filling us up. And we talk about this on the podcast all the time. This, you mentioned filling your cup first, and we talk about giving from our saucer. So we fill
yes.
up our cup till it overflows, and then we give from our saucer. And when the saucer is empty, we fill our cup again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so beautiful. And I love that you're talking. I would love her. I actually need to listen to that podcast
Yes.
because I'm known as the energy linguist. So professionally, I'm known
Ooh,
as the energy
fun.
linguist. I love words. The reason it's energy is because I have innate gifts of mediumship, clairvoyance, spiritual gifts. And the way that that information translates to me, I then can translate it to others. But the nuances in language, right? Like you said, self ish, like those little nuances speak like metaphorically in volumes to us.
Mhm.
And it's an incredibly powerful thing when we break down what setting boundaries really looks like, feels like, and means for us. Because
Right.
I know for me, and the way that I support people too around this idea of boundaries is recognizing that the majority of people in the world don't set a boundary out of self love. They set one out of resentment or anger or frustration, right? They finally start to put up this boundary for self love once they're depleted, unfortunately.
Mm,
And so, societally, we've begun to view boundaries as aggressive or angry, right?
right.
If I say no, I must not like you. Like you said, how to set a boundary without being a dick? How do we,
Right.
because people are going to naturally go, oh, well, I can't say no. How dare you say no? Right? Like there's all of these
Right.
kind of associations with what that means, right? We internalize it. But boundaries really are the essence, and the strength of boundaries are founded in love. And so
Yes.
when we start to realize, I love that metaphor of the overflowing, and it truly does matter for us to set a boundary for ourselves, because then we also become that leader, right? That so people can follow and see how it is, what does a boundary look like, and be
Right.
inspired to do it for themselves out of love, right? Not out of anger.
Right. She talked about the difference that, saying something like that out of anger, that's a condition,
Hmm.
not a boundary. And that a
Yeah.
boundary fosters connection between
Yes.
both of you. So it's so beautiful.
Yeah. So
Please
good.
tell me about like how your energy work translates into boundaries and
Oh yeah.
how are you marrying those
Oh
two
my goodness.
seemingly separate worlds even though we're all one, all
Yes.
of that.
Oh my God, your questions are incredible, because that's actually why I love what I do. I think I am one of the few very spiritually in tune people out there who actually integrate it with practicality and physicality. And so, because they do seem separate, and quite frankly, the way, especially in America, the way that we have operated has been very much intellectually valuing ourselves. And
Mm-hmm.
so, there is this intuitive side of us and the spiritual side of us that has been set aside, set separate for a very long time. And so, what's really interesting is my journey. I always innately had these gifts, but I never, again, we live in a society that values the intellect. So I didn't know the capacity at which they were available to me. And in truth, the capacity at which they're available to everybody. But for me, I was widowed at the age of 29. Quite
Mm.
quickly and unexpectedly. My husband was diagnosed only 4.5 months after we were married,
Oh,
and they gave
honey,
him 9 months to live.
I'm
And
so sorry.
thank you so much. It was, to this day, when I look back, it shocks me that I survived it.
For sure.
And the shock of it and the grief, I really do, the way I describe it is it kind of took my intellectual mind offline for a little while,
Mm-hmm.
right? When you're in such a state of shock, which actually allowed that intuitive side of me to come online more.
Right.
And I started being very, very aware of all of the nuances of energy that are constantly communicating to us.
Mm-hmm.
And so through that and my passion for it, which is interesting, and you look at the synchronicities of life, I was actually studying for my psych degree when he had an unexpected seizure and they diagnosed him with a brain tumor. I
Wow.
happened to be in a class that was focused on the neurology of the brain when this happened with him. And I've
Wow.
always been extremely fascinated by human nature, human potential, the way our brains work. And so it's interesting how we call in the things that we need, that we're meant to acquire so we can serve on the level we're meant to. And so for me, my gifts unfolded in a way where I was seeing the functionality of our body, right? How our system works, integrated with how our energy is speaking to us and the
Mm.
messages that it shares to help us to see what has been not just in the way, but what has been causing chronic unwellness. And when I say that,
Mm.
physical, right,
Mm-hmm.
pain chronically, emotional pain chronically, mental. And one of the biggest things that tends to be in the way of us claiming living our calling, like answering that call, is this self-worth. It's
Mm.
self-love. And the boundaries are such an enormous part of that because
Yeah.
when we don't know how invaluable we are, we
Right.
haven't yet discovered it or we've forgotten it, right? And we don't love ourselves unconditionally, right? With
Yeah.
no conditions. We don't know that we should be protecting that energy. We don't realize that we are important enough to put first because we haven't
Right.
practiced that.
Right.
In fact, we've been taught when we were young that you're like selfish if you put
Mhm.
yourself first.
Right.
That's not nice to not give your stuff to somebody else. So we
Right.
don't learn to hold and keep for ourselves first. And so it is when I teach people how to interpret and read their own energy, what they're actually reading is the messages that their spiritual self, the core, right? That vibration at the core of every cell is telling them because our pain is actually trying to reroute us. And so that's how it correlates. Boundaries are an enormous part of that because a lot of our unwellness, right, our just dis-ease, right, the
Yeah.
imbalances are founded in our inability to fill our cup because then we're trying to run the system from a very depleted place
Mm-hmm.
and it's burning us out.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. I forgot that I'm not listening to a podcast right now. I'm actually supposed to say
You
something to
are, it just
you.
is yours.
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Thank
It's
you, love.
so good. So
Mm.
how is all of this in the book?
Yeah.
Is the book just scratching the surface of
Oh
this?
my
Because I
God.
feel like
Both.
there's this momentum to once you start allowing what's meant for you
Yeah.
in, once you are connected to yourself, once you are listening to that still small voice, once you
Mm.
are no longer available
Yes.
for the things that the practices that aren't serving you,
Yeah.
there's this momentum that is just a tidal wave. And I told you before we hit record, and I've told my listeners before, I record these podcasts on Thursdays. Sometimes I have up to 5 interviews. I am not the same woman on
Yeah.
Thursday afternoon that I am on Thursday morning, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you do all of this work, you get it into a book, and then you're
Oh,
like, oh, I have to write another book. I'm
many,
just like,
many
that's
more.
so outdated. It's an iPhone 4 compared to where I am right now, right? Like
Right?
it's just
Because every
this,
moment you're evolving
yes,
when you're open to that. And it is
yes.
rapid evolution. And what's really interesting, you're saying so many invaluable things that I'll touch on. I'll answer the question about the book first and touch on it. Because you're talking about trust. We're talking about bandwidth here when we're talking about
Ah,
our ability to open up to grasp, to be in the flow of that momentum. But to answer about the book, yes. So what's incredible is you're gonna, well, you if energy linguist, I love words, right?
yes,
So
yes.
this book, actually, my vision of this book, I thought it was going to be like a 5-part book, right? 4, because it's called The True Calling: Discover Your Power to Live a Life of Meaning.
Mm.
And what I devised in it is called the True Method. So TRUE. So we're transforming the things that are creating limitations and suffering in people's lives. We are reclaiming our capacity to experience unlimited joy.
Oh,
We
yes,
are
please.
unleashing the authentic, different, unique version of you. And then we are embracing that unique calling to start walking in the direction and walking on the path of what's really calling us. And so, what's really funny, it's comical to me, is I actually thought it was going to be like a 7-chapter book. It is 27 chapters. It's a 5-part book.
Oh my
Because just
gosh.
like you said, it is, and yet it is still just scratching the cervix, and it's totally digestible because of the sections that it's in. And what's really interesting is when people know me, I'm so intentional that the book actually works us through an energetic, without knowing it's doing it,
Right.
working us through the energetic patterns of what's in the way. And so we move from this very root chakra kind of energy of survival, like breaking
Yeah,
ourselves free from the things that had us in this survival mode,
sure.
to unleashing that joy and unleashing this part of us that is very unique, the forgiveness, the love, the acceptance of all of our experiences. And then the very end, that 5th part of the book, we're diving into being able to tune in and heighten your own, hearing your own unique messages, your spiritual messages, and seeing how the universe is really supporting you and pulling you into your future. And so it is just scratching the surface. My higher guidance came through and they told me an astronomical number of books. I think they said I like 12 books or something I'm supposed to write. And so it's funny, as I just had gotten to the first one and I was like, okay, back burner. But there's always so deep we can go when we're exploring ourselves,
Right?
because we're infinite. And our experiences, this is what I love about the human brain. There are, I think it's 86 billion neurons in our brain.
Wow.
And each of those neurons can make up to 10,000 connections with other neurons.
Gosh.
What that means to me
We're
is
extroverts.
infinitely the way your brain is piecing together and making those connections is never going to match what somebody else's mind is. So that is, for me, the physical manifestation of how unique our spiritual vibration is, because we're filtering the information differently and putting it together differently. So our worlds, even though we share the same kind of agreement of reality, our worlds are so different and they're so unique.
Ah,
And so it really, what fascinates me is when we look within ourselves, there is this infinite capacity for us to kind of reconnect the way we're seeing things, to choose differently, like you're speaking to.
yeah.
And if you don't mind me touching on the part
No, do
talk
it.
about
Like I
this.
said, I'm listening to a podcast. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. When you're talking about the momentum, you are so right, that I can't even put words to it, because sometimes we work in believing so long, but we're so used to seeing kind of our physical reality that there's this doubt that is there. And a lot of the times we think and want to believe something, but we're not emotionally aligned with it, or our actions aren't walking in the faith of it. And so I mean, we have to remember when we're in that situation that our physical reality was created by yesterday's mind and
That's right.
yesterday's emotions.
That's right.
And when we start to disbelieve a little bit of the physical and start to reinvest in ourselves and kind of being consciously directing of our emotions and our mind and our choosing of our physical responses, right? Not reactive,
Yes.
but responding, we suddenly start to see, even if it's not immediate, there's this unfolding of momentum we get to be in. And then suddenly it's like, it's there,
Yeah.
right? And part of that is, you said it so beautifully, because you said that very small voice that, that's speaking to you. And it's trusting in that, being able to walk in the faith of that first, that then allows you to see that next step and to
Yeah.
trust that next. But I always say, we don't learn to trust ourselves without doing
Right.
anything. We have to trust ourselves. And then we kind of gain that stock in ourselves to know we can trust ourselves again. But
Right.
it builds that momentum, and the choices, right? To set boundaries, to love ourselves, to say yes, is directing our energetic bandwidth towards what we want. So it's saving us from wasting our time and our energy on the things that are truly keeping us stuck, and getting in the flow of that momentum that you're talking about. So our capacity as human beings is just so unlimited. You can tell it gets me super jazzed.
Right.
I
Right.
could
No,
talk
I'm
about every
totally here
angle of
for
it.
it. It's like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. So fun. You mentioned bandwidth, which I
Yeah.
thought, oh, that's so juicy because it's something that people say when they're feeling depleted and that
Yeah.
they want to say yes to something, but they're like, I don't even have the bandwidth. I don't
Yeah.
even, like, I can't even
Yeah.
entertain that beautiful, glorious thing that
Yeah.
you're speaking of
Yeah.
because I'm so in whatever this is that it doesn't
Yeah.
sound delightful. When someone says I don't have the bandwidth, it
Right.
doesn't sound like they're on joy overload and they just need to take a nap. It it's something that's dragging you down. So
Yeah.
how how do we identify?
Yeah.
I mean, I in retrospect, the question, like, 'cause I think it's kind of obvious. We don't feel good. We
Yeah.
don't, our emotions are our guidance system. They are that indicator. I mentioned the still small voice. That is our higher self, God within us, speaking to us. I'm a God girl,
Yeah.
so that's what I refer to.
Yes.
And I'm also a student of the Course in Miracles, and the
Mm-hmm.
Course reads that the ego speaks first and the ego speaks loudest. So
Mm.
when we have these ideas of, I cannot possibly take on another thing, no matter how fabulous it sounds,
Yeah.
that is, that's our invitation to take a pause, to recalibrate, to check
Yeah.
in with ourselves, get out that journal. Hey, Wendy,
Yeah.
this is overwhelm speaking. This is what I need you
I
to
love that.
know.
Yeah.
And, just get that out of our body, identify what it is, because that bandwidth is, I would assume, we are created with infinite bandwidth for
Yeah.
joy.
Oh, yeah.
And that when we're feeling like we can't fit that in, it's ourselves pinching ourselves off
Yes, it is.
from the good
Oh, yeah.
that is here for us.
It absolutely is. So in my book, I talk about what I call my energy evolution formula. And I talk about the invisible, right, string theory, the invisible vibrating string that's at the core of every atom that vibrates us into our physical being. And this kind of invisible energy and how it translates through spirit into the more dense vibration of our thoughts, then the more dense vibration of emotion, and then finally in the densest expression of ourselves, which is our physicality.
Mm.
And what's interesting is you said it perfectly. We are infinitely expansive. We are infinitely, that bandwidth is there when it's aligned with that source energy from us. And what really dictates if we're pulling from that is if we are aligned with that vibration, living by what I call our unique vibrational blueprint. So there is something very unique that when you're engaged with it, just like you just listed all this stuff you do, and you probably feel a lot less tired than a lot of people who are doing one thing. And
Right.
it's because when you're in alignment with your source energy and you're living by it, you're actually fueled by your spirit. You're excited
Yes.
about it. I'm up at 4 a.m. I'm
Yep.
serving clients till late at night, and people are like, "You're crazy," and it's like, I'm crazy, passionate, like you said,
Right.
obsessed with my life, and so I don't feel depleted by that. But
Yeah.
quite often, and the way that our mind works, and I understand our energy to work, is that we were programmed and conditioned in our mind and our subconscious to seek certain things that really aren't aligned with us, right?
Mm,
Seeking them so that we're valuable, so that we feel important, so that
yeah.
we feel safe. And that is that disconnect that kind of happens between that spiritual vibration and our thought patterns, where it kind of isn't on the same sync. And so part of the reason for that burnout and that bandwidth issue is that we are driving hard in one of those sections. We're treating those four that I listed as if
Mhm.
they're separate energies, but they're all the
Mm,
same field. And so when we're working with different vibrations in each and we're directing them with different goals, we're not having that whole system working towards the same end result, right? And
right.
so in essence, it burns us out because we're not coming from our source. But what's interesting is as I was listening to you speak, what I was hearing is kind of, I guess, insight for people that it can help them with some of this bandwidth issue. Because what I heard my higher guidance say was, isn't it interesting how we're so aware that we don't have bandwidth when we don't have it, but we quite often never use the word bandwidth when we're like, I got so much bandwidth, right? So
Right.
it's so interesting that we're noticing when it's not there. So part of that solution is noticing when it is and saying, how can I be intentional with the energy? I call it energetic intentionality, right?
Mhm.
This being intentional about, am I going to give my time and my energy to this? Am I going to give my focus, even mine's? Because we will think
Right.
over something over and over and over again. And because it's happening silently while we're doing the dishes, while we're living our lives, we don't realize it's an energy leak. It's just
Right.
totally draining us. And
Right.
so that is number one when it comes to that, is like being aware of, like, you can make a choice on where that's going. And the other thing that can save our bandwidth that I'm hearing from my guidance right now is decision.
Mm.
When you haven't fully committed to something,
Mhm.
every time it rises, what are you doing? You're
That's
going, should
right.
I? Shouldn't I? Should I? Shouldn't I?
Right?
How much mental energy goes into deciding whether or not you're going to do it or not? And it's a burn. So
Yeah.
if we really desire something, no matter how impossible it seems, all that's really required is that commitment, that
Right.
passion to make it happen. Because
Right.
I've done pretty impossible things. People have done way more impossible things that I have done. Human
Yes.
potential is outrageous. When you start to feed yourself the reality of what we're capable of as human beings and spiritual beings, it's phenomenal. It's just,
Yes.
we really have to decide and cut off all other options to get headed in the direction and divert our energy towards something that we desire to actually be a part of and be in existence with.
Right. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Yes. Abraham Hicks is always saying, "Just make a decision and line up with it." Because it's that back and forth that
Mhm.
it just winds you up and it's like, we got to burn the ships. We're
Yeah.
here. We're
Yes.
not going back.
Yeah.
Burn the ships.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Okay. It's all so good. I cannot wait to read the book. What are you most excited about imparting through the book, through this beautiful group program experience that you're doing now? Like, what are you feeling that the collective is calling for?
Yeah. So really, what's really interesting is that we're in the midst of the largest enlightenment period known to man. We are being awakened. You can see, because the type of thing I'm speaking about here is way more accepted and mainstream than it ever was a
Right.
decade ago. And for me, what's really beautiful is that the reason I actually wrote the book is because it matters so deeply to my soul that I'm able to reach as many people as possible, even if they can never join the group program, even if they never work one on one with me. I wanted people to have something that was affordable to be able to start to change their lives
Right.
themselves. Because I think the biggest part about my book that really makes a difference is teaching people that they, in essence, that they do not have to stay stuck in their suffering, that
Right.
we are not our experiences. We are
Hmm.
the experiencers of them, right? We do not have to identify with the things that have limited us up until this point. And right now, what is actually being called in, because my big vision and the reason I have multiple programs, it's like, where's that leading, more like, where are we going, is that the majority of people that I serve are empathic in nature. So what I've
Mm.
noticed about my ideal client and the people that are drawn to me is that they're nurses, they're doctors, they're therapists, they're moms, they're people who care about serving other people. And what I know is that the old ways, right, before this paradigm started to shift, the old ways the world used to operate are not conducive for the success of spiritual people. And quite
Right.
frankly, spiritual people don't know how to integrate that kind of non-traditional way of being into a way that they can either express it or integrate it to be impactful for people. And
Sure.
the majority of people who actually care the most about others, who want to make a true difference and stop band-aiding things, right?
Yeah.
Actually get to the core of the problems in this world are going to fail unless they can find a way to understand how to integrate this unique thing they have within them, this unique calling, because what they're being called to do is different than what we're doing. And it has to,
Right.
because if we stay where we're at, we're going to stay in the suffering. There's just so much suffering. And so we want to be different, but it's scary to be different. And people are going to reject you when you're different. And yes. And so, really, for me, it's helping to set people free from their suffering, to help them
Mhm.
to understand that those unique experiences actually serve them because it points to what matters most to them. It points to
Right.
the thing they're meant to do on this planet. And then to help them discover that they can change the game. They actually can not just change their own life, but in turn, that ripple effect, right? Change the world. So it's big, it's a huge vision, but it's happening. And the people who are
Yes.
saying the big yes to themselves, I am constantly shocked. I am shocked. I live like you. Like I'm in awe that what people are capable of just blows me away. It just blows
Right.
me away. Yeah.
It's so beautiful. And like that great line from We Bought a Zoo, or is
Yes.
that the name of the,
I think so. Yeah, I know what you're
the
talking about.
20 seconds of courage.
Mm,
It's just doing,
yeah.
like, we know, we feel it. We've journaled, we meditated, we got the
Yeah.
download, but
Yeah.
now I have to get it outside of my body into the world.
Yeah.
And everything that we want is on the other side of courage. It's
Yeah.
on the other side of taking that step. And it feels scary. Gay
Yeah.
Hendricks talks about it in his book, The Big Leap, that
I
there's
love that
this,
book.
right? This upper limit problem.
Yeah.
But once you identify what your ceiling is, which is typically the answer to the question, how good are you willing to let your life be?
Mm,
And then you move through that problem, your
yeah.
ceiling becomes your new floor,
Yeah.
and then there's a whole new level.
Absolutely. And I love you're actually speaking to what we're talking about, that integration. So the three courses that I've got right now, a lot of people will just start with one and move. But for
Sure.
clients who have been with me, I actually just invited them into a year of all three of these. And I
Brilliant.
actually call it is integrative success because what we're doing is
Mm,
we're integrating. And you said it just beautifully. I've meditated, I've got the download, I know the thing. But now, right, the action, that physical part of us, it's aligning that human being to do the thing that the spirit is calling us to do,
right.
and walking in that faith and walking in that trust. But that is really the only way to change our paradigm, is to work with these seemingly separate layers, to reintegrate them and harmonize them. And a lot of times it can be hard. I want your listeners to hear it is hard. It's not as easy as it sounds to talk about it, because what it means is actually getting real with ourselves about what we desire. And a lot of times
Right.
that's actually where I help clients the most, because we don't know. We're
Yeah.
lost because we've been taught what's valuable by those
Hmm.
outside of ourselves that,
Yep.
quite frankly, weren't in alignment with what they desired to do and weren't all that happy. But
Right.
there's that other part of, we're afraid to actually seek the thing, that dream, right? Because it's almost like if I go for my dream and I fail, then my dream dies. And so I'm just going to keep it here. I'm going to keep it safe inside of me. But then our dream dies within us. It dies anyway.
That's right.
And so I got news. You're never going to fail if you just don't quit. It may
That's
not
right.
look like you think it's going to look. In fact, I'm going to tell you right now, it's never going to look the way you think it's going to look. Even spirit has guided me to do the thing. And I was like, I know exactly what's going to happen. It was better than that. I was totally
Totally.
wrong. And now I just listen and I accept that it's
Right.
going to be great.
I don't want a life that I can plan. I want a life that's planned by infinite intelligence.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
I don't need to figure it out.
Yeah. And that infinite intelligence is speaking to you and through you, which is what I actually coach in these programs. I'm coaching people to be able to do, in essence, what I do, which is reading the nuances of these energies so they can hear that deepest infinite intelligence that has been speaking to them all along, to really have that courage to walk their path, have that confidence in what they desire to create in this world.
It's so beautiful and expansive and amazing. And I have a question.
Yes.
So I've meditated, I've journaled,
Yeah.
I've got the download.
Yes.
I'm ready to do it.
Yes.
And then I'm paralyzed with the inability to send an email
Yeah.
to my community.
Yeah.
What is happening? Like, why would I take myself out of my own game that I signed up for, that want a front row seat to anyway?
Exactly.
Like, again, like, it's, if the ego is speaking first and the ego is speaking loudest, why was he so sneaky and quiet until
Yeah.
I got to
Until you went to
my
do the thing.
keyboard? And then the email, I just redid my website. So now my email has to be
Yep.
reconnected and I don't know how to do it. And I'm just like, how am I attracting this experience into my life right now? Because it is not what I want.
Well, number one, once you conquer all those things that seem totally impossible, they're going to be easy. But the thing is, right now, the feeling of that fear and that overwhelm is that we can't predict it. So why does our ego speak so loud? You ask. It speaks up because it goes,
Right. There's no evidence.
I don't have anything in the catalog of your experiences of what's going to happen here. So it immediately puts that red flag up and says, you're not safe. I can't promise you you're going to be safe. You're going to fall on your face. This is going to go really bad. You don't want to do this. And so we feel all of those things. And it really does prevent us from just doing the thing that seems, because we're afraid for so many different reasons. There's two main reasons that actually come up here, which is there's that fear of failure in a sense, because if we haven't learned to go within, to truly love and see how invaluable we are, then we are requiring that to survive and sustain us from the external world. And so that rejection and the fear of that rejection does paralyze us in a way, because we need that. Oh my God, what if they reject me? Now, when you love yourself, you don't really care if people reject you. I'm not saying my feelings don't get hurt, but I'm super oblivious. Like, you could probably be trying to insult me and it would be like, phew, because I don't see myself that way. Like, I love myself. Like,
right. Like, this episode, people are either all in or
not.
they're just skipped.
And that's great. That's okay. I don't even want to be for everybody. But I want to be for me. I want to be in integrity with me. That's why I love me. It's not because I think I'm perfect in any way. It's I'm in love with understanding the beautiful unpolarized existence of the human experience, right? And so there's that part, but there's a second part, which is sometimes we fear that we don't deserve the greatness that's on the other side of that. Sometimes the bigger fear is, when I step into this, who am I going to lose? Who am I not anymore? What don't I align with anymore, right? And there's this greatness that will be mine. And when we don't feel that we deserve that, right? Again, same core, which is knowing that we deserve and we're invaluable and we're worthy, then we let that get in the way. And all of that resistance is really the fear of the unknown. So it speaks loud and proudly. It's just our job to tell it to shut up.
That's right. I'm going to set a boundary
in any which way we want.
That's right. Oh my gosh. It's so good. It's so good. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you want to say? Because I feel like we can wrap up here or talk for a month.
Yeah, a month. Yeah, we'll just chop it up into bits for people. Honestly, this is what I absolutely have adored about being with you, is just how organic the conversation is, because I am a true believer of synchronization in life, and that certain things, you said it perfectly earlier, actually, about we may think it's the way we're going to see it, and then it ends up being something totally different. But the truth is that the universe is bending at all moments to meet us with exactly what we need, and trying to do it in the most gentle, encouraging way possible. And so I really do feel that everything that was meant to be said for you, for me, for our listeners here has been said. And that, I want to invite anybody who's interested. You can go ahead and purchase my book, The True Calling by Laura Ahern. And I haven't yet recorded the audio, but that is about, well, actually, I will have recorded the audio.
Perfect. Good
Get the
job.
audiobook. It'll be beautiful. It is beautiful because I felt very, very passionate about being the one, because the vibration of voice, right? To
Yep.
actually
Yep.
read the book,
Yes.
emphasize what
Yes.
matters. So I feel very complete and honored, so privileged in this conversation and just sharing life together today with you.
Oh my gosh, my face is sore. My smile has been so big. It's like wedding day. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Oh, you gotta
Oh,
keep doing this.
it's so good. I need the facial fitness doctor to
Yep.
come back. Oh my gosh. Laura, I was right. Your favorite. Thank
Well, I
you
love you. I love
so
your
much.
energy.
I love you. Oh my gosh, I wish we were sitting next to each other on the plane to Paris because all the people around us would be gushing us,
Yeah. Well, or jumping in the vibe and
right?
just partying in this infinite love.
Come on in, the water's fine. Oh my gosh, it's so good. You are a dream. I know
Thank
this
you.
is only the first of many
Yes.
times that we will be together
I
because we
cannot
are
wait.
so connected. Oh my gosh, I love you. Thank you
I
for
love
being
you.
here.
Thank you for your time today. I so appreciate you.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. As always, any links or notes mentioned can be found at phineaswrighthouse.com in the podcast section of our site or in the show notes below. And if you haven't connected with me personally, come find me on Instagram at Phineas Wrighthouse and let me know you listened to this episode. I'd love to get to know you. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I know your days are full, and I'm really grateful that you chose to spend some of your precious time right here. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any of these delightful conversations. I'll see you next week.